guys. Well, thanks so much for checking out Harvest here online. If you do us a favor, click that subscribe button. Whenever you are watching, wherever you're watching, thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Harvest Church exists so that all people may know Jesus and grow with Him. You can also check us out on the socials on Facebook and Instagram, harvest.247. We'd love for you to check that out as well. We are going through the Psalms of Ascent. Today is Psalm 125, and the reason it's called the Psalms of Ascent is because these are 14 Psalms from Psalm 120 to Psalm 134 that the nation of Israel would sing, recite, read as they are traveling up to the holy city in Jerusalem. And Jerusalem was built on a higher plane than all the surrounding cities around it. And so it was this ascending up into the holy city of God, which is the Psalms of Ascent. And if you think about cities and you think about ascending and you think about people coming, a lot of times if you think about history, you might think about forts, because forts were built to protect certain cities, and forts were built to protect from people coming in and overthrowing cities. And I've traveled through some forts before, some old school forts, and kind of done tours, and I think they're really fascinating if you think about wars were fought here and the cramped spaces people were built in. But I mean, we build forts. I mean, my kids build forts. That one of the things they love to do is take pillows and chairs and blankets and all that stuff and build forts, and like to get in the forts, right? It's a place to hide. It's a place for security. It's a place that's solid. It's a place that protects kind of the outside threats, and that's what a fort is. And we build forts all the time, right? We build financial forts. There's some things that we try to solidify in our financials, whether it be investments, whether it be how we save money or certain ways that we spend money. So we kind of build financial forts. We have security systems that help us build. It's kind of like a fort. It's protection for our home so people don't break in and take our valuable possessions. Forts can be something like firearms, right? Like we have firearms to protect ourselves. We lock our cars and our doors, and they are kind of like a fort. We construct forts around what we watch and listen to. For some of us, say, hey, I'm not going to watch that because there's certain things I don't agree with, or I don't want to do that, or I'm not going to listen to that because it's vulgar or whatnot. But we are always building forts, and so whether they're physical or whether they're musical or financial, whatever, we are used to building forts because forts are protections. So Psalm 125, the background there, the emphasis of Psalm 125 is not on kind of the precariousness of the Christian life, but it is on the solidarity of the Christian life and the solidity of it. So it's saying that the followers of Jesus are solid, they're strong, they're grounded, they're rooted, they're not moving to and fro, and we're going to see that in actually the psalm. And so Jerusalem was kind of this place that was set saucer in the hills. It was the safest city because of the protective fortress the hills provided, which a lot of cities back then were built like that. And so that's kind of like an illustration for a person of faith. Like just a person of faith is also solid. They're grounded, again, consistent. And so what this psalm is kind of declaring is that God is the safe haven. He is solid. He is our protector from the outside hazards. And so much like He's an helper and a hope from last week in Psalm 124, this week we're kind of looking at God as our protector, right? He's our fortress. He's our shield, right? And so Psalm 125 starts like this: those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved, but abides forever. So those who trust in the Lord follow this kind of idea of promise that that trust in the Lord cannot be moved, and they abide forever, kind of like a mountain, right? And so when you think about trusting in the Lord and you think about what that means, they're using the illustration of a mountain. Now, I don't know if you've ever been on a mountain or climbed a mountain, walked up a mountain, hiked a mountain, whatever it is, but when you're hiking up a mountain, or when you see mountains, or you're in the presence of mountains, you're like, man, these are fortresses. Like, they are not going to be moved. They have been here forever. One of the things I love to think about in Colorado, and because I got into hiking mountains and stuff, is like, man, how long has this mountain actually been here, right? And so it is a fortress. It had been there forever. And so it's kind of saying that those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, or like a mountain which cannot be moved, right? They are not movable. If you think about people that we've come in contact with, or that you've come in contact with, there's different types of people. Some people are like sand. They're ever shifting and they're unstable. Some people are like the sea. They're restless and unsettled. And some people are like the wind. They are uncertain and inconsistent. So if you take the same type of illustration, what the psalmist is saying is that those who consistently trust in the Lord are not like any of those. They're like a mountain. They're strong, they're stable, and they're secure. And the reason that they're secure is because the foundation of who they are is secure in the Lord. And the Lord is their protector. So they're not tossed by the wind or tossed to and fro. They're not filled up with fear and all these types of things. They're just solid and secure, right? The snow comes and they remain strong. The rain and the storms come and they remain strong. They're not people who are easily rattled. They're not people who are overly emotional. They are stable, they are settled, and they are consistent. Why? Because God is their rock of their foundation. He is their protection. He is their king, and in Him all their strength and confidence is found. God is their protector. Verse 2, the psalmist continues, as the mountains surround Jerusalem. So we talked about Jerusalem being set in the mountains, like because it was a fortress, it was a protection. So the Lord surrounds His people from the time forth and forevermore. So one of the ideas is that in the same way that the mountains surround and provide protection for Jerusalem, God does that for His people. He surrounds them, He protects them because He is our protector. The psalmist continues in verse 3, for the scepter of the wickedness shall not rest on the land allotted to the righteous, lest the righteous stretch out their hands to do wrong. Do good, O Lord, to those who are good, and to those who are upright in their hearts. But those who turn aside to their crooked ways, the Lord will lead away with evildoers. Peace be upon Israel. So this was kind of like the protection of God for His people, praying for the protection of God for His people. Hey, for those who try to do good, for those who walk uprightly, for those who really want to follow You, God, do good for us, right? Do good, petitioning Him, right? Do good, O Lord, to those who are good. It's kind of one of the primary features of Old Covenant for Israel in the Old Covenant God made with the Israelites at Mount Sinai was the principle of blessing their obedience and cursing their disobedience. So it's this idea, if you obey, I'm going to bless you. If you disobey, I'm not. And you see that throughout the history of Israel. As they are putting God first and they're not giving themselves over to idols, God is blessing them in the land and He's taking them in the land. But then all of a sudden when they turn away and give their life to idols and begin worshiping other things, God doesn't bless them anymore, right? And so that's kind of where we get that idea. And here the psalmist has simply prayed that God would fulfill that aspect of the covenant and do good for those who are seeking to do good and seeking to follow Him, right? I have a quote here that says, the amazing greatness of the revelation of the gospel of Jesus Christ is that God did good for those who are not good. And so I think one of the things that is incredible about the gospel is, and how the Old Testament, the New Testament might be a little bit different with Jesus in the New Covenant, is that God sent Jesus to die on a cross and He did good for me and you who are not good. And so when we try to say, hey, the way we're going to get to the Lord is just by doing all the good things, that's actually not the way we get to the Lord. The way we get to the Lord is believing in Jesus who took our place on the cross and rose from the dead. And so that's what's so great about the New Covenant and the New Testament, right? We remember that in due time Christ died for the ungodly, which is Romans 5:6. And God demonstrated His own love toward us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Even in the New Testament, even in the gospel, God is our protector. because he sent Jesus to die on a cross for us so that we would not experience hell and death for forever. And so this psalm, through navigating our life, through following Jesus, and even in death, it's kind of bringing this idea that God is our protector. You know, if you've ever watched anything on climbing, like actual climbing, not hiking, but actual climbing, what you'll find is that when people hike like Mount Everest or these different places, these climbers are roped together. And why are they roped together? They're roped together for their protection. So if somebody slips and falls, they're there to protect them. You don't need a rope if the journey isn't dangerous. There are treacherous obstacles. There are situations along the journey that could cause death. The weather may turn, the circumstances may turn, but being roped together brings about protection and security. This psalm highlights the same thing in our relationship with God. The weather of life may be adverse. We may slip and we may stumble and fall. However, being tied together to the Lord will always protect us, because this psalm is trying to tell us that God is our protector. So the winds may come and we may slip and fall. There may be ice on the mountain or on the path and we may slip and fall. We may get off course in some way or shape or form, but as long as we stay roped into God and we stay roped into Jesus, guess what? He's going to be there to protect us and prevent us from making a catastrophic fall. So Psalm 125 is all about God as being our protector. He is our fortress, and those who put their trust in Him will be like a mountain, immovable by the circumstances and hazards of life. God bless you.